This episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast is brought to you by Piedmont Triad Regional Council. PTRC helps 78 member governments in the 12-county region better serve their citizens in several service areas. To learn more about the PTRC, visit ptrc.org.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Small Business Leaders Podcast table. It is full today.
Thanks for having us.
We are so happy that you're here, and you're representing PTRC, which is Piedmont Triad Regional Council, and I just want each of you to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Alexis Labonte. I'm the Strategic Initiatives Coordinator in the Workforce and Economic Development Department at the Piedmont Triad Regional Council.
Nice, and we only have two mics.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danica Heflin, and I'm in the Regional Planning Department I'll use our acronym, PTRC, because it's a tongue twister.
Yes.
And then within the Regional Planning Department, we have our environmental programs. So I am an environmental programs coordinator, and I'm here to talk mostly about Stormwater Smart today, which is an educational program.
Good.
Awesome.
Great.
And I'm Matthew Dolge, the Executive Director at PTRC. We appreciate you having us here today. I'm the one who takes a bow but doesn't do a whole lot of anything, so I just sit back and take all the glory.
Hey,
Our fearless leader.
Yeah.
somebody's got to do it.
So,
And this is Lamar.
and I'm Lamar, and you're Audra.
I am still.
Yeah. So we're here today for a couple of reasons, and one is there is an event that Alexis has coming up at PTRC that's very important, and we want to get that out to as many people as possible because we think it's an important event. But also PTRC, Piedmont Triad Regional Council, it is a lot of words, but it is an incredible organization, and the deeper I look into it, the more I am amazed at all of the things that are done there. And it's like a layer of government, and I'm glad Matthew's here today because he can kind of give us some insight into PTRC and
Yes, I definitely, I told everybody off camera that I was going to be, the voice of the public, that I didn't study a lot for this podcast. I just really want to learn what PTRC does so that we can, take that in and hopefully get that message out in a very comprehensive way to the public and whoever sees this. So tell us.
Yeah, we appreciate the chance to be here. It's a lot of words, but it's also a lot of stuff.
Yes.
So we have a lot of words to match, the many things that we do. At its heart, PTRC is all about public service, and we're an innovation engine. So, what we do is we serve largely a 12-county area, which is, larger than Rhode Island or larger than I think 5 states. We've got close to 2 million people in the region. We have 75 member governments, so every city that within the 12 counties is a member. And we try to deliver services across that broader area in a way that makes it very efficient so that each unit of government doesn't have to have their own program, but also hopefully more effective in figuring out ways to innovate and to meet people where they are more effectively. And so our main program areas are aging programs. So what most folks know, so everybody's heard of like Meals on Wheels. And so all the Meals on Wheels programs across 12 counties are funded through us, through federal dollars, and then we help make sure they're done effectively across those counties. And we do in-home aid for seniors. We do transportation, help them get to the doctor's office or to pick up medications or groceries and things like that. We also do our planning programs, which is everything from environmental planning to just basic community strategic planning, everything in between. We do talent, workforce, and economic development, so we help businesses get talent for the jobs they have. We help folks align themselves with the skill sets that are needed. We give small business loans. We help small businesses in whatever way we can in economic development work. We also do community development, which is housing. We develop housing for low to moderate income folks, help folks with housing assistance. We do rehab work, especially for like elderly and folks who may be on limited incomes, who may be house poor and that they don't have money to keep their houses up and are in bad situations. We do weatherization, help folks save money on power bills and things like that. So we've got a real broad scope of things that we do.
That's a lot.
And it all comes down to the imagination of our staff, figuring out great things they like to do, being entrepreneurial about what we do, even as a government entity, and then what our member governments will let us do. So it's we hope an exciting place to work because it's different every day.
It is
And,
different every day.
we try to keep it interesting.
Yeah, it's just amazing all of the things that are done there in that place, and you're helping local government on a regional scale, helping them be more efficient and more effective. And again, it is all about service, helping them better serve their citizens. And
And hopefully do it in a cost-effective way. Again, everybody doesn't necessarily have to have a director in all those programs. If we can have one that does that across the region, so hopefully more money's flowing through the places that can do the most good to individuals. And then a lot of programs, we have issues that aren't confined to city limits and county limits. So talk about water quality issues. A river goes where it goes, and water runs downhill, and what happens in one place impacts the other. And so a lot of those issues are regional. We had a great one in our region announced last week. You get a huge employer, 14,500 employees aren't coming from the city limits of Greensboro. They're going to be coming from an area within 100 miles, and we got to figure out how to train those folks and get them there, and where houses are going to be, and schools for the people that come work there for their kids, and all those issues are regional, really.
So making sure that I'm tracking, which I think I am, you have the infrastructure that the regional government doesn't show up with. Like, you partner with the regional government with an infrastructure of all these different programs that they can tap into. Am I making
so basically almost contract with us for services. So on some levels, when I have to explain it to folks, so my wife, who we've been married for 35 years, and she tells people that I have a secret job with the government because it's hard to explain.
You have all the jobs with the government.
Yeah.
It's just, it's hard to explain because there's so many different pieces. But in the end, I think that what folks can usually kind of make sense of is it's just like you contracting for a service. Our member governments come to us, and then we basically run that contract for them.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. And I love that there's so many different departments, and we're going to get into that in a second, because there's just no end to who you can bring on to work for you. I mean, so many different types of talent and trades that can come, your way, and that's so needed.
And I think all of it too, what I like is every bit of this is serving people.
Yeah.
And if you have a heart for people and a heart for service, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's incredible. So you have this event coming up that is very important. I know it's something you've been given the responsibility of helping to oversee. So tell us about this local government hiring event.
Yeah, so I was brought on to PTRC in September, and so I haven't been around too terribly long, and this was one of the first things that they said, this is going to be yours. And I was like, okay, well, we'll just see what happens. And so in the process, I've learned a ton about our member governments and what PTRC can do for our member governments, and just the breadth of what our region has to offer. So it's been really exciting for me. And so essentially what we wanted to do is, in the Workforce and Economic Development Department, obviously we have an expertise in workforce development, and so we do operate the NC Works Career Centers in 10 of the 12 counties that PTRC covers. And so we've kind of brought that expertise and tied it together with our member services, and to offer our member services a way to help them fill those positions, whatever the positions are. There are a ton of different positions open, everything from HVAC specialists all the way up to department directors, town administrators. There's tons of employment opportunities. And me, myself, I have a bachelor's degree in social work. I never saw myself working in local government. I always intended to stay in direct service. I used to work in direct service for victims of domestic violence and human trafficking. And so it was definitely a jump for me to go to local government. But I've just felt so blessed in the time that I've been in local government, and I really want to give that opportunity to other people. I think people don't ever consider working in local government because they just don't know what there is to offer.
It's so
you know?
that is a stopping
Yeah.
great point. Full stop.
Yeah.
I've never even considered it. I don't think I've had a conversation with anybody
Mm-hmm.
ever about it. So I mean, it needs to be more visible, which is exactly what I feel like you're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, and so for me, I started graduate school in the Master's in Public Affairs program at UNCG, and I started with a nonprofit management concentration. Like I said, always thought I'd stay in direct service, and I was just opened up to this world. And so when I decided to start looking for a new position, I found PTRC, and the title Strategic Initiatives Coordinator. I was like, what does that mean? And I couldn't tell you because it is truly
That's the way
something
we like
different
it.
every day.
That's what, we can make you do anything.
It really, I mean, it's something different every day, and it's so fun. And on our team, you know, specifically in the economic development side, we just get to do the most fun stuff. You know, you don't think about government being involved in really fun projects, really, you know, I mean, I
Like
don't.
what? Tell
Well,
us.
for example, one of the biggest projects I'm working on right now is it's called Digital Champions, and we got an $800,000 grant from North Carolina Department of Information Technology to help bridge the digital divide among our 12 counties, distributing laptops to people in our region that need it, because not just anybody can just go to the store and get a laptop, you know, and that's been so fun. And I've gotten really close working with our career centers on that, and that's so fun. And I know Danica has things to say about the fun projects that she works on. But ultimately, the idea of this was, as a member service, let's help our member governments fill their positions so they can work more effectively, so that they can get their job done, so that they can serve their constituents. And on the workforce side, let's open up the idea of working in local government to people, you know, people who have never would have thought of it, people who never would have applied for anything working for the county or the city. You know, let's talk about those opportunities. Let's talk about the benefits.
So let's talk about that for a moment, and we'll circle back to the event that's coming on. And I know I talked to Danica ahead of time, because one of the questions I asked her is if she loved her job, and I absolutely loved her answer and how she answered that. So tell us, I mean, you're working in government, so tell us why you love your job, you're passionate about it.
Well, I think I knew from the moment that I came in for my values interview with Matt Reese, where we were talking about what you can expect from public service. And keeping in mind, I had already been working in state government for several years. I worked at the Georgia Department of Transportation, GDOT. And that was also a regional position. I was in District 4 and would go around and do training and education with the employees in a really regional position. And coming to PTRC, really coming to North Carolina, I felt like I was starting from scratch, and I was concerned about finding a position for several reasons. I'd had positions that I loved. I loved working at GDOT. Prior to that, I was in New York and worked for the New York Public Library, training there. That was also regional. I'd travel between the Bronx and Manhattan and Staten Island. And I knew that I loved a regional position where every day was different, where you're moving around a lot. My brain needs that stimulation. But having worked in different areas, including small for-profit agencies, large for-profit, small nonprofit, large nonprofit, state government,
She couldn't hold a job before she came.
She's sounding like
We have turned her life around.
I knew there were things I knew that I needed. And one of those, I needed to work in an ethical environment where I wouldn't be asked to massage data or reports. I needed to work in an ethical place.
I didn't know where you were going with
That
that.
was very important. and I knew that I wanted to work somewhere where the priority was innovation, finding creative solutions, sticking with a problem until it's solved. PTRC offered all of these things and in a professional environment, but did I ever see myself working in local government or a council of government, which I didn't even know existed.
Me either.
No, I had a Bachelor of Arts degree in theater and dance. I had a master's degree in education.
Y'all have a lot in common then.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Just my kids. I don't have a bachelor's in
Well, not that.
anything.
Well,
Anyway, go
you
ahead.
do have the skills.
Go ahead.
I knew that I loved working with children. I loved working with adults who needed extra care. And service was always a call. There's something about being with people, and your goal is for them to feel connected to their community, engaged in their community. And when it comes to what we're teaching, that's where I was surprised I got the position, because it's watershed science, stormwater control. These are things that some people know a little bit about, but there are a lot of people who we don't think twice about the storm drains on our street and where those go. We don't think twice about washing our car in the driveway and that soapy water running down. So it was an area where I didn't have a lot of specific knowledge. And I think that a lot of people, when they're thinking about their careers in the future, they get asked the question, what do you want to do? Rather than how do you want to do? And so being at PTRC, it's the answer to how I want to do. And I've learned over time, I've been with PTRC 6 years now almost, and I've learned over time more and more and more about stormwater and watersheds and how they connect and what our target pollutants are and all of the specific terms.
Mm-hmm.
But it all comes back to helping people feel connected to their community, to their environment.
It sounds like it's who you want to do it with as
I
well.
think there's that too.
I think that makes a huge difference. And it sounds like the culture of PTRC really is supportive all across the board, is what I'm hearing. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
and again, you're working for government, and what you're explaining is something you enjoy. You're very satisfied with doing that. Certainly, they are taking care of their employees. It's like, man, this is a great place to work. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm helping, I'm serving, and just all across the board. And that is what a position like this can give to you. And a lot of people don't think that way.
Well, the other interesting thing that you said that stuck out to me is, I mean, you're specializing and you were put to work. You interviewed for something that you had no prior experience in, and y'all still hired and said, yeah, this is going to be
I'll tell
your
you,
thing.
We've got two great examples here, but we're very particular about our culture, and that's something that we do that doesn't often happen, I think, in a hiring process. Is, again, that final step is an interview, and we talk about what our culture is and what our expectations are, and try to give, I think, our employees a clear picture of what to expect from us and what we expect from them. But I think at the heart of the whole thing is we're about public service, and we talk about public service first, and you've got to have a heart for that. And I think what Danica just talked about was having a heart for serving people. And we believe if you get talented people and they have a heart for serving folks, and they're creative and innovative, then they find great things to do, and we can either train them to do things that they need to do internally, or a lot of times they find new stuff too that we can do and take us in new directions we never thought of.
That's what it sounds like, that you all are just stretching your knowledge base too all the time, which I find that, at least from what I've observed, like a lot of the public nowadays, they just go to work and they do their thing and then they go home, and there's not as much fulfillment maybe in their day to day. And I've definitely had a lot of people sit across from us, and y'all are very passionate about this, and that's awesome to see that. So thank you. Thank you all for doing that.
Yeah, and a lot of people that have come and sat at this table they're passionate about the things that they do. Maybe it's a business, a service they provide, or a product they provide in the local community, and they're very passionate about that and love that. And it's exciting to hear that, passion, but they want to serve people, they want to help people, and you can also do that in government. So circling back to the hiring event that is supposed to take place on July 9th.
July the 9th.
And so local government hiring event. So we have a lot of governments. How many governments?
I think we're up to 19 now, and then we've got
I
a
think
few.
22 was the new number yesterday.
We've got a few maybes, so
Okay.
including the maybes. I'm still working on the maybes, but including the maybes, we're up to 22.
You're not massaging the numbers, are
I'm
you?
not massaging the numbers. I'm just tracking them. You know, I'm
Boss man
spreadsheet
over there
oriented.
said he got all the information.
He said, "Hang on."
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have 19 confirmed, and then 3 maybes. Yeah. So let me just go ahead. I have a list here of all of our confirmed member governments. So we will have the City of Asheboro, the City of Burlington, City of Greensboro, City of High Point, the Town of King, City of Lexington, the Town of Mayodan, City of Mebane, City of Reidsville, Town of Sedalia, City of Thomasville, and the City of Winston-Salem. And then for counties, we'll have Davidson, Forsyth, Guilford, Randolph, Rockingham, and Yadkin. And as a fun little bonus, we'll have the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections. They're seeking to fill some positions, and they reached out. As part of the Workforce and Economic Development Department, we house reentry programming, and so we have a great relationship with DAC. And so when they reached out to see if they could come, I was like, absolutely.
Sure.
So the event is we're doing 2 separate sessions. That way nobody has to stay all day. It'll be from 9 to 12, and then again from 1 to 4. So there will be a little bit of a lunch break if anybody needs to step out. We are hoping that all of our member governments will be at both sessions, but I mean, there's work to be done. So not every one of the member governments will be on site all the time. We're also going to have our Mega Mobile Career Center on site for job seekers. So when I first started putting this together, I was considering what my path to local government was, and I remember thinking, should my resume look different for local government? Is there something special I need to put on there? What if I'm not ready? You know? And so we wanted to make sure we had one of our mobile units on site for job seekers. That way, if they come and they feel like maybe they're not prepared, they can just step into our mobile unit, and some of our staff will help them out. They can tweak their resume, they can write a cover letter, they can do all these things, because a couple of our member governments will be doing on-site interviews. So the job seekers can get prepared right on site if they want to. We'll also have the Be Pro, Be Proud mobile unit outside. So I'm not super familiar with it, so forgive me if I'm a little bit wrong, but they essentially do trade simulations for trade positions. And so if there's somebody who, is looking for a new career path, especially in local government, they can come and see what's available. If they find something they might like, but they don't quite have the experience in it, they can check out the trade truck and see what that would look like and get a little bit of knowledge about it, and then go from there. So that's really exciting.
And how is this being marketed as far as what are the cities doing to market, to bring people in? Do you know?
Yeah, so the cities and counties are not doing the marketing. So we reached out to them and we marketed with the member governments to get employers on site. But we are doing a lot of the marketing ourselves. So we're doing Facebook and LinkedIn, of course. I've connected with every single college in the 12-county region. Wow. I've done email blasts upon email blasts. So every community college, every four-year college, every university has gotten an email from me personally. And so that's really great. It's being pushed out with a lot of those students. And then, of course, it's being promoted in our career centers. So I think a big thing with our career center participants is that they don't think they would ever be in local government because they feel like maybe the trade that they're looking to get into or the trade they're working in isn't a necessary component of local government, but that is so not true. There are tons of jobs in local government for, trade work. And so I think that's a huge thing that we're trying to highlight with this.
Okay.
So one suggestion of Matt Reese was to highlight a particular position, and so I have some notes on that as well.
Okay,
All
well,
right,
let's make him happy.
Okay, let's do it. This is for you, Matt Reese.
Yes.
All right. So the County of Forsyth has a skilled trade specialist position. The starting salary is $45,000, and all it requires is high school completion or a GED and 3 years of HVAC experience. And if you're considering it, but you don't have HVAC experience, head to our NC Works Career Centers, and we'll see what we can do to help you with that. But I really want to highlight here the benefits packages for local government. So you always hear, like, the state has great benefits, government has great benefits. local government really does have great benefits. So for Forsyth County specifically, I did go through their benefit package. An employee, if they want to do employee-only coverage, they can get medical, dental, and vision insurance for $75 a pay period. That's like
That's
nothing.
huge. Yeah.
It's like minimal.
Hey,
Yes.
You know?
I'm signing up.
You're exactly. Head to a local NC Works Career Center. Will get you in that HVAC
Yeah.
class.
Sign
Uh,
up.
That's not even counting, the most local governments, Forsyth County included, pays for a life insurance policy for their participants or for their employees. Excuse me. You also have access to all kinds of other things: flexible spending account, critical illness insurance, accident insurance, short-term disability, long-term disability. You get paid vacation. You get paid sick time. You have access to the local government retirement system, which is amazing. That was one of the things that I learned about. I didn't really consider it until after I'd started, and I was talking to our HR analyst, and he was like, here is the information on local government benefits. And I looked at the retirement package. There was more in my retirement account in the first 2 months that I worked at PTRC than there was after my last job. I worked there 3 years. There's more in my retirement
Wow.
account with PTRC. And
That's a
I
big
just think
deal.
that's crazy, And so I never considered, I'm in my 20s, I never considered retirement. I'm not thinking about it yet,
Right.
but it's something you should think about. So in planning for retirement at my old job, they did all they could, just saying it was a small nonprofit, but I was going to be not prepared for retirement. And now I feel like I actually will be, and so that's great. And then, of course, there's longevity pay with a lot of local governments. And then they also, most of them do tuition assistance, tuition reimbursement. And
Oh, cool.
all local governments are part of the public service loan forgiveness program. So if you have student loans, you can, get some assistance with that after a certain period of working in public service.
Yeah. So all that's great benefits.
Yeah.
Working for a
Ridiculous.
city, a town, or a county,
Yeah.
and it's huge. And what you're dealing with, that particular trade, that person, whoever they hire to do that, so they're using that trade to actually serve people or serve the people that
Yeah.
are serving people, I think is huge as well. And so that's just one example of many.
Mm-hmm.
Of the type of work. Who knows? You may be doing something in the secular side that you could do in the government side.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
feel good about it because you're helping.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, I think one of the things that we really wanted to highlight is that when you look at local government jobs and all of our members, especially since COVID, we had a reduction in folks who were participating in the workforce. Everybody's had jobs open, and you've seen probably things. If you're old like me, you still read the newspaper, or you may see it online. That law enforcement, they've got 50% of their positions vacant. The EMS, but that's the same across the board. And what we, I think, realize is a barrier for a lot of folks is they look and they see a job name or description and they don't know what that is, and so they don't engage in that. And so what we're really pushing for in this is that there are skill sets that are transferable across a lot of different jobs, especially in the government realm. So, I want to work outside. I'm good with my hands. I can fix stuff. You can be trained to do a whole lot of things within the local government realm. And with all these governments around, there'll be a lot of different jobs. Just think about kind of where you see yourself and what you like to do, and then they can fit you into some of the different positions they have. It's not so much being, I think, stuck within, am I a social worker one, or am I, a field tech or something like that? And so, hopefully that'll attract folks. And again, they'll just see kind of the breadth of things that are available and the flexibility once they get into that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm definitely more, interested and excited for, y'all and the communities that you're serving, because I didn't understand any of that, and it would seem a little intimidating maybe
Yes.
to the average person like me, because again, I'm the public, but just hearing y'all talk, it's very inclusive. It feels just natural.
Yeah.
As hey, just come and if we, we're just providing that's a huge service. And I think too, and I may be wrong on this, but I feel like I get a sense from the news or from anything that there are no jobs, and they're not, and you're sitting here saying your in-depth knowledge of that says otherwise, that there are things very available. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots
for
of
sure.
jobs available in local government.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's in local government.
I
And
love it.
I think it's great. And what's also good about this, that I think is impressive, this service that's being provided, is you may not have a lot of knowledge about your resume or you need to improve that. Here's a place where
Come
you can
anyway.
get that done. Somebody will help you and work with you and try to navigate that
Yeah.
for you. Also, it's an opportunity you to kind of sit face to face with people that are doing the hiring,
Yeah.
people that are looking. So you're able to meet them, talk to them, ask the questions that you need to
Yeah,
ask
I mean-
at this event. That's why it's so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, so most of the representatives from the local governments that will be on site are HR representatives. And so we talked a lot earlier about culture. So if you want to know about the culture of the local government you're considering working for, that's a great place to start. A couple of the smaller towns are sending department heads because that's who does their hiring because they're
Yes.
smaller. But yeah, it will be mostly HR representatives on site.
I love it. I think it's going to be a huge success, and I hope we just spread the word, help spread the word for y'all, and see where it
PTRC is a cool place. We have an amazing facility to help service all of these governments and the members and the citizens. It's located in a very convenient place. It's off of Highway 66.
Right in the middle of the region.
Right in the middle, yeah, the heart of the Triad. I should say by Kernersville, but yeah, it's real easy to find off of 66, just east of I-40, and you need to come.
Yeah,
Be a
absolutely.
part of that.
Well, I want to say thank you to each one of you, Alexis, Danica, and Matthew. We appreciate you coming and helping us to expand our horizons too, and hopefully help others do as well, and serve the community. That's what we do. I've actually said community more than you in this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sister-in-law.
You're welcome.
Well, we appreciate you having us,
Yeah.
and we're always excited to talk about what we do. So
Yeah.
anytime.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe we'll have you back for some other event that you're putting on. We
Yeah,
definitely
you
would love
never
it.
know. I mean, if this goes really well, maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah.
But like Matthew has said, we're innovative. You know, there will be something else that we'll do.
Tell everybody exactly where they can go find this event so they know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, so if you just go to ptrc.org, scroll down just a smidge, it's on our website. The link to register for job seekers is on there. Job seeker registration is preferred but not required. So even if you don't register, come anyway. 1398 Carrollton Crossing Drive in Kernersville. We're really excited for this. We're really excited to see everybody, and I know it'll be great.
Awesome. Well, with that, that'll do it for this episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast. Please follow us, like us, Instagram, all the things. We're on all the things. And we would love to see and tell about your business or event opportunities. Reach out to us at Legacy Podcast Studio on all of those forums. Anything else?
I have nothing else.
All right.
You said it all.
We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.